All right, hello Rio. This is your Uncle Win, and I am here with your cousin. And real quick, da, da, da. Oh my goodness! All right, we're gonna be going over some drawing lessons here, and sorry this is taking me a while to put this together, and it's a little bit of an angle, so hopefully you'll be able to see some of this. This will be the first video of a couple videos that I'm going to do for you, and go over some basics, things that I've taught myself over the years. I've only had maybe one drawing class, one art class my whole middle school and high school days, and so I haven't learned a whole lot in school, but just things I've learned over the years. And so I'm gonna keep the camera angle pointed at this paper for the most part, and try to talk to you from behind the camera and show you what I'm doing, and hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on. But drawing basics here, we're going to cover a few things here. We're going to talk about practice, how important that is. We're going to talk about pencils, and not viewing them just as pencils, but as tools to accomplish what you want to accomplish. We're going to talk about different lead hardnesses and softness, as well as line thickness and the importance of that, and then finally hand positioning when you're drawing. So first of all, practice. Obviously, everybody has to start somewhere. The drawing that you showed me already was really good. I thought that was really good. I think you drew a picture of a fist like that. That's really cool. You actually chose one of the hardest things to do to start off with, which is trying to draw the human body. That's not an easy thing to do as far as facial features, hands, arms, the whole deal. You know, it's really, human body is really hard to draw. So you did a great job with that. We're going to draw a few things here as we go through these videos. They're a little bit little less challenging, but nonetheless it'll be helpful. So I'll show you some examples of that. But so practice is going to be huge. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at something. That's true for anything, whether it's golf, football, drawing, singing, whatever, you name it. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. And so I recommend see if you can talk to your Uncle Rhett to come out the pocket, give you a little bit of a change to go purchase some tools like this little drawing sketch pad that I got. It's just a very simple sketch pad. It's got plenty of pages here. You can actually take these pages out and then put them back in if you want to. It's pretty cool. So anyway, having a little sketch pad to keep in your room, and you can take it with you in your book bag kind of a deal, and pull out your pencils and start drawing whenever you feel like it. That's always key. So practice is huge. As much as you can practice, the better you're going to get at something. All right, so pencils as tools. We're going to talk about what's it like to use a pencil versus maybe a pen. We're going to talk about the edge of your pencil and how important it is to have a beveled edge as opposed to, say, a point, and the difference that makes. So I'll show you real quickly what I mean here. This drawing pencil here, this is a typical sketch pencil. It says sketching on it. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. Sketching. Yep. There we go. Sketching. Let it focus. There we go. All right, so this is a sketching pencil. Now, as you can see, I have it sharpened. Pretty sharp point here. So a beveled edge. What is a beveled edge? A beveled edge is just when you have an edge like a chisel. It's more of a flattened point or a flattened edge, and it actually has a little bit of a slant to it as opposed to a point. So if I take this pencil and I push it on this paper here and just kind of draw a little bit on it. Now, if you look at the edge, try to focus. If you look at this edge, see if it's going to do it for me. Come on. This edge has now a beveled, well, it's not going to focus. Hang on. Instead of it being a point, now it has a slight slant to the edge. And it's not sharp anymore per se, like a point, but it now more looks like a flat edge to it. So now this allows me, this pencil has now become sort of a tool, if you will. Instead of just making, when I draw a line here, if I turn it over and put it on its point, and I draw a line, I'm going to get a pretty thin thickness. If I turn it over, rotate it about 90 degrees, and I put it on the edge of that bevel edge now, where it's slanted, now I can take that same exact pencil, make a line like that, and now, see the difference? That's a big difference, right? Skinny, fat. Skinny, fat. So line variations are going to be really huge when it comes to drawing really well and being able to distinguish between different items. Being able to do an outline and then do an actual thick drawing line, that's going to be really huge. So beveled edges versus point. When you draw a picture and you just use that, if you have a really sharp point at the edge of your pencil all the time and you draw out a picture, you can do a good outline. And I should have had an example ready to go for you, but if you just draw out, a picture really quick and using only that point there, then it's going to look fine, but it's not going to look quite as detailed and as deep and what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as distinguished as a drawing. Say, let's just do real quickly, something real simple. Let me get my paper over here. All right, so just real quick, I'm going to use this sharp edge to draw just a simple basic triangle. Okay, that looks fine and dandy, but that same triangle can look a lot different if I do this. Just watch. I take the sharp edge and make another line here. That's the one edge. Flip it around, and now I've got my beveled edge. Now I'm going to draw one line here, and then we're going to finish off with another beveled edge, like so. Now this triangle is now starting to take a little bit more dimension to it. It's getting more depth to it. It's not just a two-dimensional item on the page. Now it's actually got some depth to it. Now what we can also do is take our beveled edge, and now we start looking at shading, what shading can do for you. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. Start adding shading to different objects, and man, that really starts to add lots of depth to it, and it really starts to make your drawing start to stand out. So anyway, we're going to get into that in just a minute. All right, so you really want to take your pencil and give yourself a beveled edge to do most of your drawings in terms of your thick lines. If you're just doing a general outline, your pointy edge is great for getting the initial edge laid out, just so you'll know where to put stuff. But then once you come back, you want to take that beveled edge, start giving it some depth. Okay? All right, so let's talk about lead hardness or softness. They're different kinds of lead weights that we want to talk about here. My kit, let me get my camera here. My drawing kit that I'm using currently has a variety of different lead types in it. And I'm going to encourage you to try to talk mom and dad into getting you over to either Walmart or Hobby Lobby or Michael's Art Supply or something like that, and trying to get a sketching kit. A sketching kit will have a variety of different of these pencils in here. And I think I mentioned this in the text message. So this, for example, this is a 2B. This is a 2B pencil, sketching pencil. And that has to do with the hardness of the lead. That 2B, and I don't know why they choose the letter B. I don't know. But B is, it means it's softer. So if you look at the lineup here, going from left to right, all the pencils I am using here, you've got, hopefully you can see this here. Here we go. You got 4H, 2H, H, and then HB, F, B, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 8B, and just keeps them going. So 4H, that H stands for hardness, like basically it's like a hard, really hard, hard lead. So let's just give a couple examples here. I pull out a few, I'm going to take a few of them and make some examples here. Take the 4H pencil here, and I'm going to draw a line with it, and it's going to give you a certain weight there, okay? You see that? Give you a certain amount of coloration to it, and that's a pretty hard lead there. What you would use that for is again, maybe your general outline. If you're just taking a piece of paper and you want to draw, whatever, your fist, for example, you're going to come around with this hard lead, and you're going to do the outline of that fist there on your paper, so you'll know where things are supposed to go. It gives you just a general idea for where stuff's supposed to go. Okay, so then another example here, we're going to move down the line. Letter H. Let's pull out the letter H, and I want you to kind of take a look and see what's happening as I pull these different ones out and mark on them. That's the H. Let's go with HB. HB. We're going to put an HB line here. Okay. And keep on moving down the train here. Let's see letter B. Here we go. Okay, letter B. And then next we have a 2B, which is the one right here by my hand. 2B line. Okay. There's that. Let's go with a 5B. Okay, here's a 5B. The 5B is actually a little bit slightly different. It's the only one that doesn't get darker for some reason. Maybe something's wrong. I think there's something wrong with that one. Anyway, here's my 8B. This one's sweet. That's what it's supposed to look like right there. So let me use the 6B instead of the 5B. Let's see what that looks like. So we're gonna use 6 instead of 5. How about that? Put it right here. There we go. That looks beautiful. All right. Now tell me what you see is happening here to our lead. What do you see happening here? What I see is light Dark, 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 darker, 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 and it gets real dark down here. Light to dark. See that? All right, so light to dark. This is another reason why these are important, because when you have the different variations in your LEDs, this allows you to much easier put shading to these images that you're drawing. So for example, I take my pencil and I have this outline of my, let's just go back to my triangle here. If I want to throw some shading in there, let's go ahead and grab like a deep, 6B or something. If I want to throw some shading into my triangle, well, actually, let's go. Let's see. This is a 3B. We'll start with 3B, and we're going to put a few little shading lines in here, which is pretty good. Okay, I can get pretty dark with that 3B if I wanted to. But if I really want to come in and right behind that and really add some depth to it, I can throw this 6B in here and really start to make it dark, just like that. Get it real dark in there. See that? See that variation? So it just makes it easier to go from light to dark when you have these different variations of lead weights. So this is 6B there. Okay. So it's not absolutely essential that you get these different line weights, different lead weights. It does make your drawings are going to have a lot more pop to them, a lot more depth, a lot more 3D to them if you're able to purchase these different lead weights. And so just tell your dad that he's going to have to come out to pocket and help you out with your art supplies here. Okay. All right. Line thickness. So we talked about some of the sketching kits at Walmart. I'm kind of going into the line thickness here a little bit already. We've talked about that with the 4H, H, and HB. It's much easier to get really nice, thick, dark lines when you have these softer leads down here. So you'll see as we go along, next couple videos, you'll be able to tell a huge difference between when I draw something with a harder lead versus the softer leads. The softer leads just create so much more of a thicker, nice, deep line there. So I'll give you a quick example. Let me find one here. So this is a couple of trees that I drew, and as you can see, there's different. I used my harder leads to get some of these little branches in here done, and maybe some of the little outside the leaves here, maybe just a couple of branches, whatnot. And I use my thicker leads to come in and make it dark, get my shadows in there real nice and deep, just for example. So that's just one example. I got one more. Okay, little palm tree I drew here. So this is a good example because this is going to show you harder weights are good at making these lines. Here's the outside sketch lines, and then from that, once you get your outline in there, you can come in with these deeper leads and come in and darken it up, and then add your little details with some of the harder leads, and then go with the shadows, get your darker, softer leads to do the shadows. It allows you to add in a lot of really good detail. The harder leads are great for precise details, and then you come in with your softer leads and add those darker shadows in there. So that's a good example of it. Okay. Let's talk about for a second. Oh, okay. So types of paper. This is important. So when you go and you're going to start drawing something, there's the paper that you choose is important because it's going to affect how your lead responds to it. If I go to a printer and I grab a sheet of printing paper, more than likely that's going to be 20-pound standard bright white paper. So when I say 20 pounds refers to the thickness of the paper. So 20-pound paper is like your typical notebook paper that you use at school. 20 pounds. It's fairly thin, pretty lightweight. This is actually a 90-pound paper. This notebook here, this little sketch pad, it's actually called mixed media. And the reason it's called mixed media is because you can use this for painting, for pencils, for markers, for pens, any really type of media you want to use to draw and create art with it. Watch out for the crazy cat. You can use this type of a notebook. See, this is 90 pounds, 160, whatever that is. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, yeah, this notebook, I use this notebook for sketching. I use it for a variety of things. I've got my markers and stuff I'll do in here. So this one responds pretty well to some markers. I'll do that, some little sketches here and there. I'll sketch this from, this is an image I got off of a book that I'm studying about sketching, and I kind of copied that. That's pretty cool. So I can do that. I'll show you some of my pencil drawings. And anyway, so yeah, this paper is good. Great medium for doing some drawings and sketching and pencil work and pen work and that kind of thing. So anyway, just a typical example of a little sketch pad. So that's that. But yeah, this is a great little notebook to get if you can, along with your sketching kit. Let's see. So types of paper. This is 90 pounds, fairly thick. Don't get anything that says watercolor when it comes, for pencil drawing. If you get a watercolor type of paper, it's going to be super thick. It's going to be real grainy. So when you take your pencil and try to draw across it, it's not going to be a smooth line. It's going to be pretty broken up and just kind of really rough. So don't do that. Just get something that's like a standard sketching pad or a multimedia type of a notebook pad, and that'll be fine. And even if you just want to use your notebook paper from school to start off, that's totally fine too. That's good. Okay. Varied hand pressure when drawing lines. Okay. So this is something that I would like for you to, as a homework assignment, if you will, varied hand pressure when drawing lines. This is one of the more difficult things that you can learn starting off. And I had to learn this when I started going into landscape to architecture schools. If you take take your pencil and notice when you draw a line, your tendency is to grab the pencil up here just like you're going to write your name. When you draw, okay, let's go and talk about this hand positioning, writing versus drawing. When you're writing, you're gonna get your fingers pretty close to the tip of that pencil so that you can control it, right? If I write my name, I want control over the end of that pencil. If I'm drawing a line, I automatically did it just without even thinking about it. I dropped my hand back on the pencil. When you're drawing, you don't have to be right up on the point. You don't have to have quite as much control. You want your hand to be able to be free and sort of relaxed. You want this pencil to be held somewhere right in here. Let that pencil flow smoothly. So when you're drawing a line, if I get my hand all way up here on the point and I draw a line, it's going to be, fairly the same width. It's not going to vary at all. So one of the things that makes drawings look really, really good is when you drop that hand back a little bit and you let it relax, and then you just practice putting pressure on and then releasing pressure. So as you're drawing your line, take your beveled edge. First of all, let's do this. Let's bevel our edge. That's another thing that makes it look good. So you want to have a nice beveled edge, like that. And you lay that beveled edge right there on the paper. And as you begin to draw, you want to kind of rotate just a little bit. Rotate those fingers just a little bit, and then vary that line width. So you're getting thick lines, thin lines, thick lines, thick. So you get a variation. So for example, I'm going to start kind of thick and then let it relax, and then go a little tougher there and relax. Go thicker, to relax. Now, see how I'm varying that line weight? Now, what does that remind you of when you look out? It reminds you almost of a mountain lion, not mountain lion, a mountain line in the landscape. Looks like a row of mountains there. So again, take your beveled edge, start off light, get heavier, get light, rotate just a little bit, heavier, light, heavier, light, heavier, and light. So that's going to be important, getting good at doing that, because now when you go, let's say we're going to draw, I don't know, let's just say we're going to draw a leaf. If I keep the same amount of pressure on the pencil as I'm drawing my leaf, I can do this right here, okay? Now that's not a bad leaf. It looks pretty good. Not bad at all. But now watch what happens when I do this. When I vary the pressure, I can take my leaf and do that same image. And now I can make it look so much more realistic when I vary the pressure to it. Now that's not a really good example, but anyway, you can tell the difference. See how it just looks a little bit different. Now I'll come back with my darker pencils and add some shade to it and whatnot. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of, you want to get to where you can vary those line widths, because that's going to, what are you doing? It's going to add a lot more character to your drawings. This looks more like a cartoon, whereas if I continue drawing this and working it out, this is going to look a lot more realistic, way more realistic than this will. That makes sense. Even if I take my pencils and do a really good job of shading this guy and really make him look really cool, it's still not going to be as realistic looking as this leaf would be here once I add my shading and everything. Anyway, we'll get into that in more detail as we go through some more videos. But yeah. So anyway, you just kind of get practice with that. Homework assignment: use your pencils. Try to see if your dad and mom can get you some more of these, like a sketching kit that has these variations of lead weights in there. Maybe find a good sketch pad, and then practice doing some of these line weights here, varying your line weights. Practice getting a nice beveled edge, and then using that beveled edge. Ooh, you can see it now there. See that beveled edge there? Yeah, it's like a chisel. Now you can start working on, especially if you're drawing tree trunks. I draw a lot of landscaping, so I do a lot of leaves and trees and shrubs. I draw a lot of that stuff. So as I'm getting ready to draw my trees and shrubs and whatnot, one thing that's important in doing this is if you want to draw the ground, where the tree is going to be coming up, you want to vary your line weight big time, because it just adds a lot more realism to your drawing. So there's my ground level. You can throw a couple little splinters of grass in there, maybe a couple little flowers, whatnot, like so. Have some grass popping up, and then your tree trunk is going to come up. You want this trunk to really have a lot of variations in its weight and width as you can draw that. So boom, there we go. Come out here. Then once you get that in, you can come in. You can drop your leaves in here, and notice I'm not drawing every single leaf. I'm just drawing the outline of the tree as it wraps around. I'm not drawing just kind of suggesting it. I'm not drawing every leaf, obviously. So then as you come in here, you want to draw add your shadows. A tree always has one side in shadow, because the light's going to be coming. We'll talk about this in the next video, but the light's going to be coming this direction. So you drop down this tree here and put some shadow on these. Anytime you have branches up inside the canopy as well, these are always going to be darker. So anyway, there's your tree. You want to shade in some of these leaves here, but we'll get into all this in the next few videos. But it's always going to be shadows somewhere around underneath this canopy here. It's always really dark. Yeah, there we go. Okay, notice I've got this pencil way back. So I'm letting my hand be nice and loose and free. And another thing about trees, if there's a little bit of breeze blowing, you want to draw a couple of leaves that are falling off, just to show a little realism like that. Cool. There you go. All right, there's the first lesson there, and we'll look forward to the next lesson. We'll go into more detail about, well, I'll come up with it later, but we'll let you know. Anyway, that's all for now, and we'll talk to you soon.